Well, there's definitely some imagery that I am not gonna, that aren't gonna get out of my brain anytime soon. Hello, I am Megan, and this is Battle Royale with Cheese, the website where you can get all of your TV, film, news reviews, and trailers. The Substance stars Demi Moore as a once famous actress who has now essentially been thrown out of the industry, the film industry in Hollywood. After a car crash, she is given a note and a USB stick. The note only says, "This changed my life." On the video, it basically says, you can sign up to this kit that will give you a brand new you, a better you, a more beautiful you. The only rule to this process is that your other self has to have 7 days, and then you have to switch back to your old self, and so on and so forth. No exceptions. So this was actually the closing film at Fright Fest Film Festival that I went to last month, and I wasn't able to attend this, unfortunately. I really wish I had done now, though, because, wow, this film is fantastic. And I've been quite vague with the plot on purpose, because I want to talk more about it now. I'm not going to do any spoilers for this one, actually, because, one, this has just come out in the UK, but two, I think anyone who is a fan of body horror and gory horror films, I think should go and see this. Yes, it is a body horror film because the process does involve creating a new you, in the literal sense. Literally in the literal sense. If you've seen the poster, you can probably guess how this works. But yeah, this was fantastic. Very grotesque. At times there were some humorous moments as well, so there were times where it's quite funny. Demi Moore is fantastic as Elizabeth Sparkle, and I really felt for her. I think that she has clearly grown up throughout the majority of her life as this very famous actress, and even, I am going to spoil this because it is the first few seconds of the film, the opening of the film is of her Hollywood star being made, and then it goes through a passage of time from where it gets made, and she, puts her hands on the star to reveal it, and then it continues on as people sort of ignore it. It starts cracking as people step on it and just walk along. And then you do hear a conversation going, "Oh yeah, Elizabeth Sparkle, she was in that film or something." So over time she's been forgotten about and, essentially thrown away by Hollywood and the film industry. And I did really feel sorry for her. She's also feeling very self-conscious about her looks, about getting older. And yeah, as someone who's been self-conscious before as well, and still is a little bit with certain things and with certain parts of their appearance, I did really feel for her. I felt very sympathetic for her. Demi Moore is fantastic as this character who is so desperate to recapture her youth no matter what. Margaret Qualley plays Sue, who is her other self, and again, she was fantastic as well. There's an interesting part of the process where, and again, this is all in the trailer, where they explain, the company who makes the substance explains that this is not someone new that you are creating. We are literally, what the substance does, it lifts out from your DNA a better version of yourself. So it's the same person, it's not someone new that's been created. You are literally, both of you are the same person. But as the process goes on, they are essentially a battle with each other. They do have clashes and they do have problems, because at the same time, this has also brought out the worst in both of them, or the worst in one of them, which is their self-confident issues and their beauty confidence issues, I guess you could also say. And going on from that, this is a big satire, a big commentary on toxic beauty standards, on the male gaze. There's a lot of shots that are deliberately sort of very lecturous. There's a lot of bum shots, a lot of shots of like boobs and stuff like that. But that's on purpose. It's supposed to be like that. It's supposed to comment on the male gaze, on the objectifying of women that this industry has and still has, and it is a very relevant topic to have, going back to Margaret Qualley. But because of all the standards that the world and this industry has, and we even see it in the fashion industry as well, she wants to essentially abuse the system and think, well, you know, a couple more hours won't hurt, one more day won't hurt, and that's when it all falls apart. And I'm not going to say anything, and this is also where a lot of the practical effects, a lot of the gore comes into play. To be fair, even the first, I reckon, half an hour, there's a lot of close-ups of needles, of so I'm trying to be careful what I say, but I guess surgery. Again, some of this is actually on the poster and in the trailers, so it's okay. I'm not really spoiling that part of it. That is what the process is. It involves needles, it does involve like slight surgery, and they're very close-up shots. There's a lot of close-up shots, especially in the first half an hour actually, that are supposed to make you feel quite claustrophobic, quite grossed out, but it also serves as a bit of a foreshadowing of like, yeah, you're seeing all these gross imagery and hearing all this gross stuff. Just be prepared. Even at the start, there's just a simple scene of Dennis Quaid, who plays Elizabeth's really quite awful manager. Really, really awful. He was fantastic as well, but he plays a very slimy, gross, awful man. But there's a scene where he's just simply eating prawns, but it's like close-ups of his mouth as he's munching. You know, the sound is really loud as he's sort of chewing and biting, and it's really disgusting. But it's all foreshadowing for the squishiness of what's going to happen, of how this is going to work. And yeah, like I was previously saying, there is practical effects and gore in this. It is a body horror, and the body horror is amazing. It really borrows from films like The Fly, The Thing, even aspects of District 9. If you've seen the film, chances are you probably know what I'm talking about, but there's certain body horror things where I was reminded of that as well. But it's all done very respectfully to create this new story, to create this new scenario and situation. And yeah, it was fantastic. There's definitely some imagery in the third act that I'm still thinking about. I'm still thinking about it because wow. And the pacing was also really nice as well. This film is about 2 hours and 20 minutes, around that time, 2 hours and 15. And actually it didn't feel like it at all, because they always had something going on. Everything was important or had a reason to be there. There wasn't really a scene that felt, you know, unnecessary. And even a lot of the shots had meaning to them. And I know that's probably a weird thing to say, you know, in a film every shot has to have a certain purpose. But it definitely does feel like, okay, there is symbolism in a lot of these shots. There's a reason why you're showing us this particular thing. Even as something as simple as there's a scene at the beginning where Demi Moore is looking at a fly that's just fallen into a wine glass. And that's very symbolic of her mindset and situation in that scene at that point. So every scene I feel like was important. It had a purpose to be there. It wasn't just thrown in for random sake. It wasn't just thrown in there for, okay, well, we need to pad out the runtime. Everything felt very important, and yeah, very symbolic of what the story was, what the message is, and what the commentary is as well as what Demi Moore's mindset is and Margaret Qualley's mindset is as the film progresses. So despite the film being a fairly long film for a horror film, there wasn't anything wasted. There wasn't anything that I would think, okay, well, this was too long, this should have been removed or should have been cut. Everything felt important and had a reason to be there. So overall, the substance was great. It was fantastic. It was gross. It was gory. At times it was funny. The acting, the lead actors are fantastic. They are so, so good, and I enjoyed every second they were all on the screen. But it also had a very important message and commentary on the toxic beauty standards that Hollywood and the fashion industry have on the male gaze, on how women are treated. I mean, you even see it on TV in the UK. I don't know about other countries, but especially in the UK, beauty products, you know, makeup adverts are very, very popular, perfume ads, anti-aging creams, you know, stuff like that. It's just constantly advertised here, and it's everywhere. So it definitely feels like we still have a long way to go in terms of learning to love yourself, learn to love your body, learn to be okay with the very natural process of aging. You know, we only have one body, we only have one life, so, you know, learn to be happy with yourself. And yeah, I felt really sorry for Elizabeth Sparkle in the film because of that, because I kept thinking, but you look great, like, you still look great. But I think overall it was the pressures of her being thrown out by the industry, her wanting to come back in, is what drove her to the focal point of the film, the actual plot of the film. But yeah, I thought it told its message really well. The commentary was very well executed, and the third act is insane. Which again, I'm not going to say. The third act is definitely insane. I've watched a lot of gory horror films in my time, as it were, and even I was closing my eyes a few times. So, yeah. But The Substance is now out in cinemas. It did come out a couple of days ago in the UK. I really wish I had seen this at Fright Fest, but oh well, I'm glad I got to see it in the end. But I was Megan, this is Battle Royale with Cheese. See you soon.